Well, football fans, we've made it this far. 28 weeks since Super Bowl Sunday without a game to watch, but we've now reached the final weekend without football for a very long time.
And I'm excited for the football season. A lot to get to today, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to Newscenter 11's Sports Football Preview Special. Matt Freiler alongside Ellie French. High school football just 6 days away. Jamborees are behind us, and we're looking to get right into that right away with our high school football preview. But Ellie's going to tell us about some of the stuff we have coming up later in the show.
Yes, we also are going to take a look at the junior colleges, obviously, as well as college football. We're going to take a look at UWA. We've got Bama. We've got Mississippi State. EMCC, all that great stuff. So we'll start with that first.
So sit back and relax. It's our Newscenter 11's football preview special, and let's kick it off with our Week 1 high school football schedule. Our WTOK game of the week, the West Lauderdale Knights and the Nanawaya Warriors. The Knights head north to meet the defending 1A state champions. Both teams extremely successful last season. Now, an important change for West Lauderdale, they move into 4A District 4, which means they'll transition from the south to the north, so now competing for North State, not South State. But this one has all the makings of a Week 1 classic, an excellent test for both teams to start the year. And Ellie, you have another exciting game to tell us about.
Yeah, we're very excited to announce our first Friday night tailgate location, which is going to be great. Northeast Lauderdale, we're coming for you guys. I'll see you in 6 days for a city-county crossover rivalry. So much history there, Matt, going into this one. It's the first time the two crosstown rivals have met at Northeast. And of course, the story in the offseason, John Douglas leaving the Trojans in June to take the same job at Meridian. Defensive coordinator Glenn Sanders getting the promotion as well. Hide the kids for this one though, Matt. It has all the makings of an old-fashioned gridiron battle. And we'll be there, so please bring out all the tailgate food.
Yeah, it could get ugly, but that menu will be excellent for the Northeast Lauderdale tailgate. Moving on, a battle of the Gandys. Quitman heading south to Waynesboro to meet Wayne County, a new head ball coach for the Panthers. They're excited to have former Hattiesburg defensive coordinator Rashad Gandy at the helm, but he has a really tough test Week 1. Last time these two met, 2014, the War Eagles blanked the Panthers 46-0. Wayne County 18-1 all time against Quitman, but if there was ever a time to pull that upset, it'd be in Game 1 of the Gandy era. And Ellie, you have another rivalry to tell us about.
Yes, a big rivalry game is going to be happening in Macon. Defending 4A state champs Louisville send Hall of Fame head coach MC Miller off into the sunset with a title, and the Tyrone Shorter era begins there in Louisville. Shorter coming from over, he left the Tigers without a head coach, so they promote from within, tabbing offensive coordinator Teddy Young as the next head man. Tigers reclassified from 4A though to 3A this season, so no longer a district game for either side, but still means just as much. Last year, Louisville squeaked out a 27-26 victory on the road, so we can't wait to see what unfolds in this one. But now you're going to tell us a little bit about the private school ranks, Matt.
Yeah, obviously it's not high school football without the MAIS, and Lamar is coming off 3 straight Quad A Division II state titles. Mac Barnes' squad hits the road to take on Starkville Academy. Those Raiders looking to get off on the right foot as they seek a 4-peat. How excellent is that? They'll hope to win this one and bring some momentum into their home opener at that new Gray Cobb field the following week. It'll be a tough challenge with Chase Nicholson's Volunteers. SA won this one 21-20 in the opener last season. Lamar looking for revenge.
And now we're going to run down some of the other area Week 1 games that we have going on. Calvin Hampton era is going to begin at Southeast Lauderdale as they look to turn things around this season. Also, Union visiting Choctaw Central for a 2A, 4A crossover.
And let's take a look now at our Neshoba County schools. They're both at home to open the season. So if you're a football fan in Neshoba County, congratulations to you. For the Rockets, 10 wins last year for Patrick Schooler. They'll host Granada. And at Philly, David Fry is the new head coach after his interim tag was removed. He did serve in that spot since Week 2 of last season when Bobby Hall stepped down. The Tornadoes hosting a border rival, Center Point, Alabama. So, Ellie, now let's talk about some of this Week 1 high school football action.
I'm ready.
Meridian Northeast is the one that so many people in this area have circled. There is so much history here.
Yeah.
And Meridian, the 6A, Northeast, the 4A. Our tailgate is coming. First time ever at Northeast. This is our first high school football season. So kind of 2 firsts.
Yeah.
Are you excited for this?
I am so excited. I've had the opportunity to go and see Meridian and meet John Douglas and see the team a little bit, but have not had the opportunity yet to go to Northeast. So I'm so excited to see you guys there for tailgate. And like I said, please bring out all the food. But I'm very excited to see this matchup. Like you said, it's going to be great to see what both these teams do, and I'm really interested to see just how John Douglas is going to do with his first year as head coach at Meridian.
And I'm sure everyone's excited to see you on tailgate out there with the fans. And
I'm ready.
Another thing that people might get excited for, you have a segment that you're doing for Football Friday.
I do have a segment.
Thing,
yeah, so obviously we had Good Eats last season, but this season I kind of wanted to do a little personal thing and get to know some of the players in the area since, like you mentioned, we're both new. So I'm going to be doing a thing called Sideline to Sideline, where each week I go to a school and I do a kind of sideline to sideline walk with different players and just get to know them a little bit and kind of why they play the sport and get to know a little bit more about the team and everything. So I'm really excited.
And from some of the answers we've got from doing 11-on-11s from these players, you're in for a treat.
I know.
There's some entertaining
great.
Kids out there.
Oh, they're great. And I'll have so much fun asking them all the good questions, the fun questions, of course, along with the football.
So remember, you can look forward to our WTOK Football Friday, our first show, Friday, August 23rd, 10 p.m., and we are so excited. Remember, our game of the week is West Lauderdale and Nanawaya, and this is going to be a huge one. We mentioned it before. The Knights, 12-2 last season, came just short of a South State title game appearance. Nanawaya took the 1A state championship, and there's a lot of difference in the size of these teams. West Lauderdale, obviously, bigger, faster, stronger, more kids. Nanawaya, only a 1A roster to work with, but they work so well together.
They do.
They're cohesive as a unit. They have a ton of seniors coming back, and James Courtney is an excellent coach. 15 wins last season for the Nanawaya Warriors. So we'll have to see how that goes. And Ellie, Lamar has a huge one, week 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Lamar does. That's another school that I've been out to a lot. And, you know, Mac Barnes, he's been there for so long. He's done such a great job. And from talking to those players, they love having him as a coach because they learn so much from him. So, you know, Lamar, it's really each year, you know, they're looking to get that title again. So it's only up for them, really. But excited to see what happens with that game for sure.
We got new segments coming your way on Football Friday this year. But for now, we're on the Newscenter 11 football preview show. And when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about JUCO EMCC going for that three-peat. Stay with us on the Football Preview Show.
And welcome back into Newscenter 11's football preview special. I'm Ellie French alongside Matt Freiler. And we've already broken down the high school football matchups that we have coming up for week 1. And now we're going to go into the junior colleges a little bit, and then a little bit later, obviously talk about college football and give you our crystal ball predictions for that, what's going on in the SEC. But let's start first with the junior colleges. We've got some big ones here in Mississippi. And
obviously coming to Mississippi for the first time, Ellie and I just realizing how important JUCO really is. JUCO is so important in this state. And let's start off with the defending national champion, two-time defending national champion, EMCC Lions. The Lions, they're going to be winning their 5th national title last year. They had a 10-9 win over Garden City, Kansas. And Last Chance U leaving has actually been a blessing in disguise for head coach Buddy Stevens. He got the program back on track. He's 1-10-13 overall at EMCC. That's a 90% winning percentage. And the Lions are ranked number 1 overall in a majority of the preseason polls yet again. Ellie, let's take a look at their 2019 schedule. They'll open up at Hines. This is a tough schedule because the MACJC is pretty loaded from top to bottom. You have 9 games there that you play during the regular season before the MACJC playoffs. Looking at this slate and going forward, do you think EMCC can three-peat?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you just say you took a look at Buddy Stevens, his overall record there at the program, 110 wins, 13 losses. And, you know, obviously the whole country got to see this program with Last Chance U. They got to see the good, the bad, the ugly of everything. But you can just tell he's such a competitive coach. And, you know, he wants to win. And he instills that in his program. So the opportunity for them to three-peat is a no-brainer. And like you said, with them not being on the show anymore, they've been doing so well and stuff. So I absolutely can see them three-peating again. Like you said, they got a little bit of a tough schedule and stuff. They're going to be at East Central and stuff, and I know they gave them a little bit of a hard time last season, but I don't see why not.
I think I'm going to call for the three-peat as well. I mean, you almost have to. Too much talent. Garden City came close last season, but I really do think that EMCC is going to pull this one out again, and probably another perfect season again on the way in Scuba. Yeah. And then we'll stick with the JUCO ranks. Let's take a look at the team that came oh so close to knocking off EMCC, the East Central Community College Warriors. They were 4-5 last season. It was really a roller coaster ride for the most part. They were 3-1 before that tough EMCC loss, where they literally lost in the final seconds by a field goal, and it just seemed they could never recover from not closing the deal. It would have been a monumental upset, but they could not pull it out, and they lost 4 of their last 5 after that and failed to finish above 500. Let's take a look at the schedule for the Warriors. So, Ellie, this is also, the MACJC, they're in the same division as EMCC here. They do have really tough road games. You play at Colin, at Jones, they're two powers. Do you think it's realistic that Ken Karcher's Warriors can pull off maybe an over 500 season with this tough schedule?
I think it depends a little bit. They do, thankfully, one thing that's important for them is they do start at home for those first two games. That's really important, I think, just to kind of get a good base. But, I could see it being a potential. I could see the ceiling of their wins being about 6 and maybe the floor being about 3 and stuff.
Yeah.
But that is, if that was the highlights that we were showing for the EMCC game last year, they really brought it in that game.
They woke up for that
and so,
special night in Decatur.
So that's the thing is it could be something like that again where they just really bring this momentum and it could happen. But I'd like to say I see that ceiling at about 6 and maybe that floor at about 3. But, the first two games at home are huge.
Yeah, the Warriors were off to a hot start. It's just closing the deal. And they lost 4 of the last 5. If they would have kept that momentum rolling, they'd be on their way to an over 500 season. I think I agree with Ellie. They'll probably land somewhere in the middle of 3 and 6 wins, which is kind of tough, but we'll see how it goes for the Warriors. And we'll move out of JUCO now and into the Division II ranks and look at the UWA Tigers. Coach G's club 8-4 last season. They won their last 3 regular season games to clinch a playoff spot, but lost a close first round one to Bowie State. And Ellie, if you look ahead here, the Tigers are ranked 24th in College Football America Yearbook's Division II poll, picked 3rd in the Gulf South Conference preseason coaches poll, behind Valdosta State and West Georgia. They have some key pieces back. They have 7 selected to the preseason team, including senior tight end Qua Boyd. Let's take a look at UWA's schedule. The Tigers will open up September 7th against Limestone, hit the road for a few weeks before they come back home September 28th, which we're proud to announce is WTOK Day at Tiger Stadium. We'll have coverage all day as the Tigers host Tuskegee. Ellie, this is a tough one. 8 wins last season. That was a good season last year. Do you think that they can replicate that with this slate?
They do have a lot of hard road games, like you said. One that's really sticking out to me is that Valdosta State one. They're defending champions.
Yeah.
They're on the road. That's a big one. If they can get that win, that would be huge. But this Tiger team has a lot of momentum with the preseason. Like you said, those players that are ranked, they're ranked high as a program in the preseason rankings. I think a lot of people are going to see a lot of great things from them this season. But like I said, that Valdosta State game on the road is definitely going to be a tough one, along with some of those other road games as well. But I see them doing very well this season.
And are you excited to go over to Tiger Stadium?
I am.
It'll be your
so
first
excited.
time in Livingston.
I am.
I think the opportunity to cover Division II football is going to be a great opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And like I said, WTOK Day, September 28th at Tiger Stadium in Livingston. We'll have coverage all day from that one as the Tigers will host Tuskegee. And that wraps it up for our JUCO segment. When we come back from the break, we get into the big boys and we'll talk about our SEC crystal ball and make our playoff picks and give you our Heisman winners. Don't go anywhere. This is Newscenter 11's Football Preview Special.
Welcome back into Newscenter 11's Football Preview Special. I'm Ellie French again, joined alongside Matt Freiler. And if you're just joining in with us now, we've already spotlighted the high school football games that are going to be happening in week 1, along with the junior colleges that we cover, as well as UWA. But Matt, now it's time to get into the big stuff. College football, the big boys. You've been playing NCAA football a lot to prepare for this.
Yeah.
You've been reading your Phil Steele magazine.
The Bible, yeah.
Let's start. We're so excited for it. Let's start first, though, by talking about a team right here in the Magnolia State that, a lot of people I think are interested to see what's going to happen this year. Mississippi State, Joe Moorhead. What's going to happen with them?
Yeah, the Mississippi State Bulldogs in the first year of the Moorhead era, they went 8-5. The good, they throttled Auburn. They handled teams they were supposed to beat, A&M, Arkansas, and Ole Miss. But then there was the bad. They got rolled over by Kentucky, and they did not score a touchdown against LSU and Bama. They capped that off with a loss to Iowa in the Outback Bowl, a game they were favored to and should have won. Let's take a look at the schedule now for Mississippi State. And I worry about the defense for Mississippi State. They lost so much talent last season to the NFL. They do get their 3 of their first 4 at home there before you travel to Auburn. But it doesn't get easier. You have LSU and Alabama at home, so that's good. Maybe pull one of the upsets there. You get the Egg Bowl back at home. I really am optimistic about the offense this season, though. Let's focus on the positives, and I think that's the offense. There's a guy playing quarterback for Mississippi State this year that you might know a thing or two about from your college experience. Who's that guy?
You know, his name's Tommy Stevens. A lot of people like to use the nickname Touchdown Tommy Stevens. And the thing that's interesting about his background is when it was, I believe, his sophomore year, he was in this big quarterback battle with Trace McSorley. And, you know, it was very neck and neck from what a lot of people saw, that there was a potential that it could have been Tommy Stevens as a starting quarterback at Penn State instead of Trace McSorley. The kid is very good. I mean, and I think the whole thing about it with this season is he really wanted to try to get a starting role somewhere. And he connected super well with Joe Moorhead when he was offensive coordinator at Penn State. So when he decided he was going to transfer, a lot of people pegged him to be at Mississippi State. He's here now. He's back with the Joe Mo offense. And so I'm just excited to see what they do together being teamed up again. And like you said, big defensive powerhouse last year, Mississippi State, but offensively this year, I'm excited to see what they do. Yeah,
the scripts might flip offense and defense this year, but I think Joe Moorhead's going to figure it out offensively in year 2. Tommy Stevens knows already 80% of that offense. We were at the Chalk Talk session.
We were, and we got to talk to him. It's great.
Yeah, we got to meet Joe, and he said that Tommy already knows a lot of this offense. So I think the offense might be the strength for the Bulldogs this season. And at the very end of our show, we're going to reveal you our pick for Mississippi State, so don't go anywhere. Ellie and I have a little bit of a different opinion on that one. But now we can move in to the other team in the Egg Bowl, the Ole Miss Rebels. Fresh off a 2-year bowl ban, ready to compete for the postseason yet again, head coach Matt Luke made some moves this offseason. He hired Rich Rodriguez to run his offense, Mike McIntyre to run the D. Both of those guys, former successful head coaches. 5-7 for the Rebels last season, just one SEC win, that was at Arkansas. They went 0-4 in SEC games played in Oxford, but there is some real reason for optimism surrounding the program this year. The bowl ban's lifted, some new coordinators to build a new identity. Without further ado, let's take a look at the Ole Miss schedule. Starts out tough at Memphis. They're not going to be favored in that game. In fact, they aren't. They're actually touchdown dogs in that one. Then you get your next 3 at home. You have your second SEC game of the season in Tuscaloosa. The schedule's kind of all over the place. Opportunities for wins. You get LSU at home at the end of the year, and then you hit the road for the Egg Bowl. What do you think Rebel fans should be expecting as they come into the season, knowing they've been bowl banned for the last 2 years, but their fans expect them to get back to a bowl, I would assume.
And I think that's, we've had a little bit of experience with that at Penn State when it happened with the sanctions. And as a fan base, you do have to be patient. It's not going to happen usually right away. There is that opportunity to be nowhere but up for them, of course, with that bowl ban being lifted. There's that optimism of, come on, let's get back to where we were once and stuff. But you got to be a little patient if you're an Ole Miss fan and stuff, because it takes time to get that program back to where it was. But it's huge for them having that bowl ban lifted. And like you said, that first game at Memphis, that's going to be a tough one. They're not favored in it and stuff. But, I could see them getting a couple of solid wins this season, especially after that Memphis game, those first 3 that they're going to have at home.
So Ole Miss, we'll give you our picks coming up at the end of the show, but let's move right on into the Alabama Crimson Tide, the defending SEC champs, and they're everyone's favorites yet again, well, at least in the SEC. As far as nationally, a swing of momentum recently with those other guys on your screen, the Clemson Tigers, 44-16 win in the national title game. Last year, the Tide were 12-0 in the regular season, took down Georgia in the SEC championship game after coming back. They knocked off Oklahoma in the college football playoff semis, but got rolled by Clemson in the national title. They're still absolutely loaded. Tua is back at quarterback. They've lost Jalen Hurts, but have so much talent at all the other skill positions. Don't forget Meridian alum Raekwon Davis back as well in the middle of that defense. Let's take a look at the Crimson Tide schedule. And people criticize them for not playing anybody in the regular season, which if you look at that non-conference slate, I agree with that. Duke, New Mexico State, Southern Miss, and Western Carolina doesn't offer much of a challenge. But the conference schedule has its tough tests. At Texas A&M will be tough at Kyle Field, and then you got LSU at home, and you're at Auburn for the Iron Bowl. Is this a 12-0 season? I'll just throw it right directly to you.
I just roll my eyes because it's like, of course. How can you not say? And even when you want to not believe in them, they always find a way to disprove that. And so absolutely another 12-0 season. Like you said, that big one I think is going to be at Texas A&M. Not sure about that one. It's a little bit of a toss-up. I think it's going to be a difficult road game in them. But come on, it's Alabama. The Tide's going to keep rolling.
And coming up next on the Newscenter 11 football preview special, we'll make our picks. The fun part. We'll make our SEC picks and beyond. Don't go anywhere. It's a Newscenter 11 sports football preview show.
And welcome back into Newscenter 11's football preview special. I'm Ellie French alongside Matt Freiler. We've already gone through the high school football. We've gone through the junior colleges. And without further ado, Matt, let's talk about college football. We broke them down a little bit, but we're excited to share with you what our picks are.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll start with the SEC West. Throw my picks up on the screen there. No surprise there at the top. Alabama 11-1, LSU at 9-3, A&M as well. Mississippi State. This is my surprise team. Bulldogs, mark it down. They're getting 9 wins. They'll have a chance for 10 in the bowl game. Auburn is the overrated team this year. They don't have a quarterback coming back. I know Mississippi State doesn't either, but they technically do. So I think that Auburn goes 7-5, and then it'll be a tough one yet again for the Ole Miss Rebels. Ellie, let's take a look at your SEC West.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about, we talked to Alabama a little bit before the game, but for me, I had them going 11-1, and I think I had them losing at Texas A&M. I think that's going to be the one loss that they get this season. I'm high up on LSU, which, you know, Tim Urban loves his LSU, so he's happy to see that. Right? But I'm very high up on Texas A&M as well. I know you just said, you know, Auburn. For some reason, when I was looking at their games, I don't know, I see it maybe.
Week 1 against Oregon.
And I don't want to knock Mississippi
Yeah.
State, because I agree, I'm really excited for the offense this season, but I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking is our top 3, at least for the West, are going to be Bama, LSU, and Texas A&M, and then Ole Miss.
So we're basically the same there, and we'll take a look at the SEC East picks now. These are mine. Georgia at the top. I think they lose 1 game in the regular season. People are high on Missouri this year. They could be about 7-0. They'll be favored in their first 7 or 8. Kentucky will take a step back. They pretty much reached their ceiling last season. And then South Carolina, Tennessee in the middle, and then just a really tough slate for Vandy. But I do think Georgia runs away with this East Division. I don't think you probably have anything different.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I'm very high up on Missouri. And for some reason, I thought I had Georgia, Florida, Missouri, though, which, you know, I'm going to have to go back and take a look at my picks a little bit, because I might be a little high for Missouri. A lot of weight on Kelly Bryant, obviously, and stuff, but
schedule lines up well.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of interesting things happening in the East. Obviously, the powerhouse is going to be Georgia, I think, in my opinion and stuff, but I'm high up on Missouri. I don't know if I'm that high up. I'm going to have to take a look back and see, but I'm also high up on Florida as well, so.
Yeah, that SEC East, a lot of people saying Georgia, Florida could decide that game in Jacksonville, but watch out for Missouri. And let's take a look at our conference champions now. These are yours, Ellie. Pretty standard, right?
Yeah, I'd say. The one that, you know, I was thinking about a little bit was the Big Ten with Ohio State and Michigan, because everyone's thinking this is the year that Michigan might finally beat Ohio State. Urban Meyer's gone. They've got Shea Patterson, Jim Harbaugh. He's on the hot seat. But I still think that Ohio State has the edge in this. And of course, I've got Bama for my SEC, my Clemson for my ACC.
Oregon out of the Pac-12.
And Oregon out of the Pac-12 with Justin Herbert. So.
All right, so these are my college football playoff picks. Without further ado, pretty standard here. I got Oklahoma and Alabama in one semifinal, which would be an excellent game if Jalen Hurts was able to get back and face the Tide.
Oh, yeah.
Can't write that one even better. And then Clemson and Ohio State, which is a rematch of a couple years ago when the Tigers blanked the Buckeyes 31-0. But I do think that Ohio State is a team to get the Big Ten back to the playoff this season. I think Justin Fields is a great quarterback. I think they do beat Michigan, and I think that the SEC won't get 2 teams in. Let's take a look at your playoff picks.
Yeah, well, I think they do again. I really love Georgia, and I think it's because I really love Jake Fromm. Just what he did when he was first there and stuff, almost beating Alabama in the national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, I still see it again. I think, you know, he's in his junior season, or I think his junior season, and I think that, you know, he's going to do some incredible things this year with having that experience as well. And Clemson's unstoppable. Trevor Lawrence established me, they're unstoppable and stuff. And I agree with you with having Oklahoma in there as well. And I'm really excited to see what Jalen Hurts does with that. So
it's tough for Georgia because you almost have to be perfect during the regular season. If you slip up once, then you have probably Alabama or LSU in the SEC championship
and
game.
I see them taking on Bama in the SEC championship.
So it's really tough to get in the playoff with 2 losses. We've seen that before this year. And we talked about some of these playoff teams. Let's talk now, Ellie, about our Heisman Trophy winners.
It's going to be a good one this year.
Who do you think?
It was a toss-up. A lot of it's with the quarterbacks, though. And the 3 I really like. I like Tua, I like Trevor Lawrence, and I like Jake Fromm. I think for this year, though, Tua, I think, finished second in the Heisman voting last year. I think this is the year he does it, though. And that was a toss-up between him or Trevor Lawrence, but I think Tua does it this year. And what are you thinking?
I think Trevor Lawrence showed us that he is probably one of the best quarterbacks in this generation. I think that Trevor Lawrence, by the time his career is over, he'll be an NFL Hall of Famer. I think he really does have that potential. I think he's pro-ready, and I think he goes on an absolute tear this season. I mean, smashes records. And whether they beat Alabama again in the national championship, who knows? But I think Trevor Lawrence in that weak ACC this season, he's going to smash the records, and he's going to show that he's going to be a #1 overall draft pick someday.
Well, we are so excited for college football,
Absolutely.
and thank you so much for joining us on this college football preview. Matt Freiler and Ellie French. Thanks
See you
again.
for Football Friday.